Hey, everybody, it's Eddie from Tokyo. This is your cryptocurrency update from Japan. I'm gonna, go quickly here because I've got a lot to tell you, but I think I can move fast enough that I won't lose you. First, if you're interested in the interview that Julia Chatterley had with Mr. Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple, it is on her Twitter site. The full 21 minutes is there. It's good. She asked a wide variety of questions, and we got a lot of clarity, especially when it comes to their focus right now. Ripple is really going to go after many verticals, but right now the vertical of remittances is their focus, and they're building new corridors. And the corridors that I think we're going to see live, or where they're having the most success, actually is where the regulatory clarity is. And the 4 countries that were mentioned that have that clarity in place is Japan, Singapore, Thailand, and Switzerland. And in regards to clarity, we also got a little bit more clarity on the IPO. And he said with a big smile that I never said we were going to do an IPO. And he clarified that we won't be the first and certainly don't want to be the last. Well, the timing, he said, has to be right for Ripple. And he cites the uncertainty that I talked about in my last video, which, by the way, is uploaded on Cinnamon. This is just not a good time. And I gave you examples of real companies that have withdrawn and delayed their IPO because of the uncertainties. And this is one thing that Wall Street doesn't like. And so the timing is truly not good. So no, you're not going to see them go public in March, like somebody has been saying out there. When they got to the 11-minute, 37-second mark, this is most interesting for me. He gave a shout out to Mike Novogratz, who has not been really paying attention, obviously, to the success that XRP is having, but 54 million in on-demand liquidity flows took place last week. That is just great. Okay, I'm going to hit this story head on because I want to show you that these companies that are publishing these kinds of clickbait titles are also not doing any research when they write these stories. So we saw this was along with many others about how MoneyGram shuns Ripple XRP in the latest settlement product. Well, I just want to show you how this is just so far from the truth. The Ripple deal happened this last summer, and that is when they decided to invest in MoneyGram. At the same time, within just weeks of that, Visa and MoneyGram actually announced their working relationship, their working partnership. And this announcement was about how MoneyGram was going to add their option for the users to choose another method to actually send money. Now, this is a new push technology, and let me explain how that works. This is utilizing the Visa Direct rails. And, I'm going to show you that in a moment. Then on the 4th of December, so this story that was like all big news story in the last 24 hours, this MoneyGram Visa working relationship has been ongoing and has had multiple announcements as it's gone to the next level. Here on the 4th, we learned that the working partnership was going to go live in Spain and the Philippines. And then now this is where I really want you to see the difference. This is a P2P service, okay? Person-to-person service, where you can send money from your debit card to another person's debit card. So those funds go from debit card to debit card. And here is the actual graph, or the graphic that will show you how that works. The originator who sits in the middle is the bank. And the sender is going to pull, this is the pull technology, pull those funds onto their debit card. And then here is the new technology that does a push. you can push that then to the recipient's debit card. So it's a push and pull operation using an API. And then on the 11th of February, MoneyGram, they named their new service FastSend, and they launched their website. So it is something that can be done with a mobile app. It's very handy. You just need a phone number and a customer name. Here is the app here, but do remember that in order to send money using this FastSend app, the receiver must have a Visa debit card. So you have to confirm that the receiver has a debit card if they are going to receive the money. You can send for as little as $1.99 starting. I did actually one of their examples here. I did from the US to Japan. It costs $4.99. So it starts at $1.99 and then ramps up depending on what corridor you're sending money through. And don't forget that also many banks are going to charge you a cash advance fee as they do. And also you'll probably run the risk of having interest apply as well. So when I got to the Visa Direct Developer Center, I want to show you something about the foreign exchange rate. So this API that you use provides an easy access to the Visa daily currency conversion rate for a given currency pair. This is an indicative rate, all right, which is dependent on the currency pair as well as the amount and may be different from the actual rate for settlement of transaction. So when you use RippleNet, as you know, and as we've heard from, let's say, the co-founder of FlashFX in Australia, you see exactly what your cost is and what your rate. There's 100% transparency. There's no like, well, it should be in this range, but it could be different at the time of settlement. No, it takes 3 to 5 seconds and boom, you're done. So that is one of the big differences. And don't forget that this is a P2P type service. This is not the business that Ripple is providing MoneyGram. And if we look at this really great article from Bank of America, you can see here that the volume of cross-border payments, particularly transactions in the 500 to 500,000 range, they keep escalating for a variety of reasons. Global trade is continuing to recover. There's new trading routes and alliances. There's borderless e-commerce. It's on the upswing. And these cross-border business-to-consumer payments are increasing. And also due to the workforce mobility, the fact that there are companies that are using foreign contractors and outsourcing overseas. This is why we have that big corridor in Mexico and the Philippines, is because a lot of the people who are born in that country actually go outside the country to work, but they are sending money back home. So that is one of the reasons why we have seen the increase on those cross-border remittances. So listen here. At the same time, the FX volatility, FX is the exchange for the currency, this fiat that goes from one currency to another. The FX volatility associated with these payments has continued to grow due to economic and political uncertainties, central bank interventions, ambiguity in Europe, and the long-term strengthening of the US dollar. Yeah, it has strengthened against a lot of currencies out there. And many of the safe haven currencies that were deemed as major currencies, generally associated with less volatility, have continued to fluctuate significantly, with some of them losing 30% of their value over the last 2 years. You can see that in the euro and Canadian dollar versus the USD, with exotics, of course, those exotic currencies fluctuating even much wider. So you can imagine if you're parking money in other countries to create that correspondent banking partner relationship that allows you to do cross-border remittances, and you have a 30% or more fluctuation rate, that is a lot of explaining to your shareholders. Here is a great tool. This is one that is called Oranda, and you can actually see the volatility rate in currencies. I just pulled up an exotic before I decided to do this video, and you can see I pulled up the Armenian dram. You can see, wow, it's totally from the 24th of January to February 15th. It's all over the board. Let's get out of the exotics. Let's go to one of the major currencies. Here is the US dollar to the euro. You can see, yeah, not very stable. Let's take a look at the Australian dollar. Oh my. Yeah, well, you can see there's a lot of risk and a lot of volatility here, and that has to be managed. And this is what XRP eliminates. So this is really a fun site. If you want to play with it, you can get lost for a long time looking at the different currency pairs. All right, here is one more big difference with the Visa Direct rails. When you read this, if you know how solid and how RippleNet has no failure rate because of the way the technology is built. Once you actually commit to that transaction, it's going to have 100% success rate. And here, if a push payment fails to complete, I read this and I thought, oh my gosh, well then you have to reverse the original pull funds in that transaction by using either the reverse funds operation or a multi-reverse funds operation. I learned that the multi-reverse fund is if you have many failures, you can then batch them and send them all at one time. I thought to myself, oh, no thanks. So you can clearly see this is not even close to what RippleNet is offering, and of course the digital asset XRP. Okay, we are going to move to this really quick. I want to talk about Steve Mnuchin, who has made some big statements about some big changes coming down the pipe. And this is back in July, actually, he spoke about the digital asset businesses. They must comply with FinCEN. This is at the time that Libra was really hot in the news, and he was clearly stating that they were going to have to hold to the highest standards of FinCEN if they were going to move forward. And then in January at the Economic Club in Washington, he warned traders and firms that offer services of cryptocurrencies that the regulators are watching them closely. And he talked about a financial stability oversight council that had the intentions to shore up those AML, the anti-money laundering rules, with foreign regulators, and he was going to kind of roll this out over the G20. The G20 is something that was formed in 1999. It accounts for 85% of the entire global gross domestic product. It's 2/3 of the world's population. So I don't know. These are definitely the countries that are going to capture a lot of that trading for cryptocurrencies, but also there's a lot of countries outside of the G20 too that are home to exchanges. But if you had given this a read, this is 152 pages. It's the council report that was published on December 4th. I think it's really, really clear that you'll know what's coming down the pipe. I just thought the signature page was interesting. You can see the Secretary of the Treasury, Mnuchin, is up here at the top, and you've got the Board of Governor Chairman for the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, here, and you can see there is Commissioner Jay Clayton of the SEC. And there's lots of people on here. There's the Protection Bureau, the Fed Deposit Insurance, the Federal Housing Agency, the Commodity Futures and Trading Commission Chairman. Yeah, I think the who's who in terms of regulation. So based on this reading that I did, I think that the Stability Oversight Council is going to bring greater controls for sure. Probably they will make audits mandatory. And I also think that they're going to implement the same anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism through the CFT safeguards across the board. Everybody is going to have the same kind of procedures. I think consumers also are going to need to understand the risks more, and I think those that are trading, there's going to be some sort of material that is maybe you have to read and sign. This is just me making some educated guesses based on reading this. And I think we're going to see enhanced security for the platforms as well, not only for the trading platforms, but for the OTC brokers, etc. And derivatives and all financial products and services with common safeguards will be implemented across the board. So I think you're going to see those 5 points addressed for sure. It is this particular hearing when he gave the Senate hearing for the 2021 budget plan that he made this comment, and this is what everybody is talking about, and I'll read it for you. This is the actual transcript of the over 2 hours that were discussed, and it's this one right here. So he said that we have really built up a very dedicated career staff, and specifically on cryptocurrencies. We are spending a lot of time on this on both an interagency basis and with the regulators. We're about to roll out some significant new requirements at FinCEN, and we want to make sure that technology moves forward, but on the other hand, we want to make sure that cryptocurrencies aren't used for the equivalent of old Swiss secret number bank accounts. And we share your concern, and you'll be seeing a lot of work coming out very quickly. So we do see, we are going to see some new things, and I'm just going to kind of take that guess that those 5 points that I mentioned are going to be in the part of that fold. Okay, where am I going now? I'm going to this one. This is really interesting. This is the U.S. intelligence officials, and they are funding a research on a dollar-crushing black swan event. Yeah, the mission of this office is to gather intelligence, and they do so for the purpose of countering terrorism and cyber threats. They also are focused on looking at risk in terms of weapons of mass destruction and also security. But the report that they are trying to get done is actually something that you apply for. So this is evaluating the impact of the US dollar losing its status as the world reserve currency. How interesting is that? The application deadline is the 28th of February. And there are many threats, it says, to the US dollar maintaining its status as this world reserve currency. China, India, the growing large economies could compete against the US economic growth. And look at this area I highlighted. Many cryptocurrency enthusiasts predict that either a global currency or a global cryptocurrency or a national digital currency could undermine the US dollar. If either of these scenarios or others come to pass, the US would lose both its status in the world and its global authorities. The US should prepare for scenarios that threaten to undermine the US dollar as the world reserve currency and determine how these scenarios could be overcome, protecting our status in the global economy. The US should prepare to identify potential black swan events that could revolutionize the financial playing field in ways we do not yet understand, presenting strategic surprise and understand root causes and driving factors that are practically sensitive to certain global or technical events. So I don't know if we're going to get a chance to see the final study on this. I don't think so. I don't think we will be able to see it. Only US citizens can apply, and you have to have a PhD in a relevant field and must be completed before the beginning of the appointment within 5 years of the application deadline. Wow, I just find this very, very interesting. Okay, everybody, I'm going to jump to some fluff. What you are looking at here is called Avastand, and the Avastand is actually operated by avatars. It's a tachinomi, as we call it here in Japan. It's a standing bar, so you can have drinks, but there's one picture I did find on Twitter that has some seats, but I don't know, maybe they pulled them up on their own from somewhere else, because most of the pictures that you see don't have any chairs at all. So the avatars are actually far away from their from this stand, so they might be working from their home, I'm going to guess. There are 70 of them, and they have registered and function as an avatar. The age is as young as 19 and as old as 70, and they're the host. So there's a real person and a real voice behind the avatar. The cartoon character is what you see, but there is actually a real person behind. I don't know if you're familiar with this technology, but if you move your hand or your head, it has sensors, and then the avatar will move exactly the same. So the owner of the bar was working for a company that developed this technology tool for elderly people who were living home alone. And here is one of the avatars. They are designed to chit chat and talk to everybody who comes to the bar. And it looks like there's, if I can show you here. Okay, so there are 2 different avatars working at the same time. And you can go on to YouTube and find some different videos and actually listen to them. I just find it kind of fascinating. The owner, Hiroki Takasaki, he sees that there's a lot of need for people to communicate. Not everybody has the chance or the skills to feel confident to do so. And he thinks it's the root of many problems. And I think our social skills are actually going down with the amount of time we spend on a screen and also texting. So you can find this standing bar in an area of Tokyo called Nakano. And I'm very, very curious to go. I think if I do go and I like it, I might register as an avatar because it would be really fun for me to give people a chance to practice their English. That's what I'm thinking. All right, everybody, do take care. Sayonara for now. Bye-bye.